All right, this time on the show, we have a good one for you. We're going to talk about equipment. We're going to talk about etiquette. We're going to talk about pro point breakdowns. We're going to talk about teaching. We're going to talk about all sorts of stuff. So let's get to it. Hi there, I am Mark Renneson, and welcome to another episode of Pickleball Today. One of the things that I love to do is to watch the best players play. Sometimes even do some broadcast commentary on TV during it. Why don't we take a look at a great point and break it down? All right, we got a nice little point here on the near side of the court. We're going to have Andrea Koop playing alongside Zane Navratil. You can see him there. On the far side of the court, Leah Jansen is the one you're going to see. Don't see her partner in this one for the mixed doubles, but that is all right. Let's watch this point, and then we'll break it down. Okay, so this is a nice little point from an interesting angle. You can really focus on the players. That, of course, is Zane Navratil. And what is he doing as his partner is getting ready to return serve? Well, he is paying attention. You can see him turning, take a look at the serve, and wants a good sense of how his partner, Andrea Koop, is going to handle it. Speaking of, where is Koop? Surprised after hitting that return of serve, she wasn't up at the net. Must have been a good serve, maybe put her off balance. In any event, here she comes. Now, as we look at this little exchange between the players and Jansen, pay attention to the height control we see from these players. Look how tight that ball is to the net. Sometimes we think that dinks go a lot higher than they do. You can see here from this nice little rally how close, in fact, they are. Nice element of technique here. We see the laid-back wrist from Koop. That's going to allow her to be in a strong hitting position out front and have a stable paddle face. And she uses a volley dink on a few occasions here to steal time from her opponents. Now take a look here as Jansen goes cross-court forehand to forehand. Look how Koop moves laterally for this ball. Well balanced. She's got a good setup here. Able to make contact with that ball out front between her body and the net, which is so important if you want to be able to control it. Players, of course, often will go cross-court when they're playing these dinks. It's a higher percentage play. Typically, you've got more room to work with on the cross-court than down the line, plus a lower net to hit over. Now, what is Zane Navratil doing during this point, right? This is mostly between the women right here. Well, all of a sudden, he gets in on the action. Look at him jumping the corner here. He is watching Jansen's paddle. He's trying to figure out where she's going to hit that ball. And you'll notice here that he doesn't actually jump the corner before she hits it. So it's not that he's anticipating that she was going to go down the line necessarily. It's that he reacted to that down the line dink, jumps the corner, plays that backhand volley. When you play it like that, it's known as a Burt, and hits it right back at Jansen's body, able to win the rally. So nice little rally here. Nice little point from these three players. And let's take a look at one more time so you can enjoy it in its entirety. All right, so just the other day I came home from a work trip and lo and behold, what did I have for me in the office? Wasn't really in the office, it was underneath a kitchen table that my wife and kids had put there, and someone had started drawing all over the package. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is I came home to a very nice little surprise, and this was some of the new paddles from our good friends over at Selkirk Sport. Now, these were the 2.0 paddles, the Vanguard 2.0, that have been out for a little while now, but what was really cool about them is that they brought back the old collection, the Regal Black Collection it's called, and I want to show it to you. If you've been around, you may remember from a few years ago, the Regal Black Collection looks something like this. This was the lightweight version of it, and the midweight version, oh, it's somewhere, it was sort of like similar idea, but the S was black, right? And it was really cool. It came out just at the same time as the US Open, I think, and we even did a whole promotion about it. We did like a buy one, give one thing, which was really great. Anyway, let's talk about the new ones. Okay, so let's start with the Vanguard ones, the Vanguard 2.0. So here you go. We got the Mach 6 here. So one of the things you might know about Selkirk is the difference between the lightweight paddles and the midweight paddles. You can often tell just by looking at the color scheme. So see here, how there's so much more color here around this S, right? That signifies that it's the lightweight version of it, of the Mach 6. Whereas you get something like this is the Invicta Vanguard version, right? You can see how much more black there is, how much less color there is. Anyway, I think these look super cool. The gold is a little bit different than it was last time, which is neat. Of course, I think you maybe know about the Mach 6, but maybe not. Extra long handle. Look, the Vanguard's got a pretty long handle as it is, which is nice if you want to hit those two-handed backhands, but the Mach 6 is like extra long. If you are a two-handed player, at least on the backhand side, I guess the forehand side too, I would strongly encourage you to consider the Mach 6. Look how much room I have. It's almost like the same length as a tennis racket, where it's very common for people to hit with two hands. And so this is really great, Mach 6 in general, but the Mach 6 and the color scheme of the Regal Black, I don't know, this is a lightweight version, I think looks pretty spiffy. What's also neat about this, of course, is as well as having the Regal Black for the Vanguard 2.0 series, we also see these in the amped version. Right, there's the Epic amped. Where's the other? Oh, there she is. And there's the S2. Again, the amped line of the S2. The S2, this was one of the very first Selkirk paddles I ever used. The Epic, I think, was my first, and then it was the S2. And what was interesting, like, it's such a square face, right? If we compare it to some of the other ones. I guess this one's kind of square too. Bad example, right? So that's all for this little product placement, but this really is, I think, a really cool looking line, and it's really neat to have the Regal Black back. Looks good. All right, so those of you who follow us over at Third Shot Sports, you might know that we have a newsletter. This newsletter is called Inside Pickleball, and I think it's pretty good. Goes out, it's free, goes out to tens of thousands of people. I forget what our last subscription number is. The point is, when we send out Inside Pickleball, you often give us feedback or you ask us questions, and I received a question lately from someone that I thought maybe we should address here. So this person's question had to do with the serve. They were saying that when they go out and they play pickleball, they are sure that they're following all the rules when you hit a regular serve, when you hit that ball out of the air. Making sure that your arm is going upward as you hit, that you make contact below your waist, and that the highest part of the paddle isn't above your wrist when you make contact, right? This would not be okay because it's above my wrist. This would be okay because it's not above my wrist, right? You get the idea. Now, this person was saying, well, wait a second, Mark. There is someone out there who tells me that I can't serve this way, that I'm not allowed to toss the ball up in the air, because that's what they did. Even though they weren't letting it bounce or anything, it was a regular serve, but they tossed the ball up in the air and then they hit it. And this person's friend was saying, no, can't do that, gotta just release it. Anyway, let's clarify things a little bit. When you're hitting a regular serve, that is hitting the ball out of the air before it has landed on the ground. It's not a drop serve, it is a regular serve. There are absolutely no rules about how you release that ball. Well, I guess there's some rules. You can't use your paddle to create the spin anymore. But there's no restrictions on whether you're allowed to toss it up in the air or not. You could throw that ball a mile up into the air if you like, and then hit it. But you have to make sure that you're still following all those other rules. Okay, but here's the thing. When you are hitting a traditional serve, that is hitting the ball out of the air without it bouncing first, there are no rules about tossing the ball up in the air. Well, in lots of places you can no longer use the paddle to create the pre-serve spin, but you know what I mean. You can throw that ball up in the air. You can throw it a mile up in the air if you like. Just make sure that when you hit it, you're following all the rules. You're making contact below your waist, you're swinging upward, the highest part of the paddle isn't above your wrist. Okay, so there's no rules about that. Where the rules come into play when it comes to releasing the ball, that is throwing it up, whatever, putting it down, is when you're using the drop serve. So when you're using a drop serve, you are not allowed to aid the dropping of the ball. So I can't throw it down into the ground and have it bounce up. I can't throw it up into the air and then have it bounce down. And why is that? Well, because when you make contact with the ball, when you're using a drop serve, there are no rules about how you hit it. You can swing however you want. So you could imagine a situation where someone throws the ball really high, lets it bounce, comes up high, chest high, and then takes a big rip, right? That wouldn't be fair. Similarly, if they throw the ball down into the ground and then it bounces up high, in theory, I guess, if you could bounce it high enough, you could hit it overhand, right? Almost like an overhead smash, and that wouldn't be fair either. So when it comes to the drop serve, the rules really are about how you release the ball. It is just a drop. It is a release. You can stand on your tiptoes, you can reach up high if you want, but you just have to release it. When you're hitting a regular serve, no rules about throwing that ball up. Just make sure that you follow all the rules when it comes to the swing. You should be fine. It's Mark from Third Shot Sports along with Cecily. It's 2021 and you probably know that there's some new serving rules that they're trying out provisionally. And one of them is that you don't have to hit the ball out of the air when you're serving. In fact, you can let the ball bounce before you hit it. What you might also know is that there's a guy named Tyson Mcguffin. You know Tyson Mcguffin? Well, he's a really big server. He likes to hit the ball really hard. So, do you think we should take a look at Tyson trying out the new drop serve for the very first time? Let's do it. All right, here we go. This is Tyson Mcguffin, first time hitting drop serves. You'll see right off the bat, he forgets about one of the rules. He doesn't quite know this rule yet. You're not allowed to toss the ball up in the air. But you can see he's just sort of figuring out the timing here. Here he gets corrected. He's like, oh, right, gotta drop the ball, no problem. So it makes a little adaptation. And there you go. You'll notice here he's using an open stance, which is not the kind of stance he uses when he hits a traditional serve. Usually he holds that ball with more of a neutral stance or a closed stance. But this video, one of the things I really like about it is how it really sort of shows him figuring this out. Figuring it out as he goes, just like many of you at home will be as you're trying the drop serve. Let's take a look at the forehand slice. And one of the rules, of course, is if you're playing the drop serve, there's no limitation on the paddle swing path that you use. So you can have a high to low swing path, which you couldn't with a traditional serve. And so you're going to see players using backspin a lot more. These slices almost always have some side spin to them as well. My guess is that this would be primarily used as like a change-up serve. It's not going to blow anyone off the court the way many of the other serves will, but it's going to be a bit of a change-up. It might float a little bit longer. And of course, if you're playing somewhere on a surface, you can get some good skid. That could be an advantage too. Let's go back to the left side of the court now, driving those forehand serves. You can see he's pretty happy with what he's got here, able to really generate some speed. Again, less with the legs, a little more with the rotation of the hips. You see his left leg come off the ground there. That's a result of that rotation, that little left foot lifting as he hits. Every once in a while, you're going to make a mistake, accidentally do the toss instead of just dropping the ball. It's to be expected. And again, Tyson's figuring this out the way you at home might be figuring out how you might play this drop serve. So it's interesting here, you're going to see a few times throughout this video he talks about the timing, figuring out when to start the swing relative to the drop of the ball or relative to the bounce. And Tyson seems to like it here, to get that ball as it's still coming up. All right, here's one of my favorite parts of this video. Suggested to him he drop the ball from a bit higher, and look at that. Nails it right off the crossbar, bottom of the net. All right, a few more serves. This is really what we would call an inside-out forehand serve. Let's take a look at the backhand, still from that left side of the court. And you'll see here Tyson struggled a little bit with the timing. Trying to figure out how do you position yourselves. You got to be able to get that arm out of the way to be able to have the backswing. Tyson's got a great one-handed backhand. Can hit this ball well, though I don't really imagine him using this. Why would use the top spin backhand when you could just hit a good forehand with top spin? The slice, perhaps. Again, that sort of change up, maybe get that skidding action. There will be a little bit of side spin. But you're going to see here he doesn't stick to that slice very long. He's going to go back and start hitting some more forehands. Tyson figures out here that it's as the ball's rising that he wants to hit that ball. It's got a little bit more kinetic energy if it's still moving rather than when it gets to its peak. The peak, of course, gives you the advantage of having a higher impact point so you can flatten it out. But if what you're looking for is speed, which is typically what Tyson's looking for, having that ball still moving a little bit when he hits it becomes an advantage. You'll notice he's not dropping the ball from as high as he could. It'll be interesting to see if, over time, that seems to change.